Hi, Nick here, and today I want to talk about the new tuners that I've had installed on my Taylor guitar here. So this is the guitar I've been using to make most of my videos. It's a Taylor 412 CE. It's limited edition with the rosewood back and sides, but pretty similar to the regular 412 otherwise. It did have gold hardware installed. And the stock Taylor tuners on here were fine, but I noticed that because I do a lot of alternate tunings, it seemed like I was having a little bit more trouble dialing in some of the tunings and getting the notes to stay. So I thought that upgrading the tuners might be worth a shot. The Taylor tuners that I had, as we'll see in a second, up close, were gold plated, but I think there's no difference between the gold and silver plated or nickel Taylor tuners. They're pretty good. I think the gear ratio is probably 18:1. But what I did was I installed some Gotoh 510 tuners. They're labeled Delta series, so I'm not sure how that differs from the other ones. But they do have a higher gear ratio of 21:1. So it gets you a little bit more precision when you're trying to tune up. And they're also actually a bit heavier. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at a close-up shot of the original Taylor tuners so we can use that as a reference for what it looks like before. Then we'll have a video of the installation part, and then after that we'll show the guitar with the tuners on, and I'll have some concluding thoughts about what I think it does to the tone and tuning stability of the guitar. Okay, so these are the stock tuners on the Taylor guitar. Of course, I bought it used and they had some wear on them when I got it. They're pretty good tuners. They probably have, I don't know, maybe an 18:1 gear ratio, which is pretty standard. And they've worked well for me, but recently I've had trouble getting the guitar to stay in tune with having to do a lot of little tweaks when I do these alternate tunings. I thought maybe I'd try some new tuners with a higher gear ratio. So anyway, as you can see on the back here, it's the gold plated finish. It's worn off a little bit, which is why I don't really like gold in general, but again, kind of got used to it on this guitar. So the new tuners, I think, are going to basically cover up the spot left by the old tuners, except there might be a little bit of a shadow towards the top. And these are the replacement tuners I've purchased. They're the Gotoh 510 tuners. These ones say Delta series, and they have a 21:1 gear ratio. They are a bit heavier than the existing tuners, so that will add a little bit of mass to the headstock. And I'll talk about what I think that does after we look at the installation. Another word of caution before we get started here is that this is not meant to be a do-it-yourself video for installing the tuners. I would recommend taking your guitar to an experienced luthier, which is what I'm doing here, and having that person install the tuners. Okay, so I'm here at Island Guitars, and Pete, expert luthier when he's not surfing, is going to change the tuners out.
Take these Taylor machine heads off, and we're going to replace them with these fancy Delta tuners, which we like a lot. The ratio's a little higher, but the gear is just so smooth, and the way it turns, it's just got this real ease of turning.
So on the Taylor, it's probably what, like 18:1, or you don't even know?
Yeah, I believe
that's kind of like the common.
These are like
21.
or something, a little bit higher ratio.
18:1 is just kind of like the average tuner, which is not bad.
Right.
These are pretty decent tuners, but if you do a lot of wonky alternate tunings like I do, I'm thinking the 21s would be a little better. It'll
Yeah.
take a little longer to tune them up.
Yeah, but it's not enough to be that. Hey, how's it up to you?
But the trade-off's in accuracy, though. So the Gotoh tuners actually have a little hole with a screw, so Pete's gonna have to drill some holes in. You can see the indentations left from the old one, and I think the new ones, from what I've seen on the web, don't entirely cover up the old indentations, but for the most part do. Like a little bit, you can see
How bad it is. So that's gonna cover them up.
pretty much, yeah. So there's like a little,
I mean, you might see the shadowing from the old one a little bit.
Yeah.
There won't be any pukas that you'll see.
yeah.
And this is
Those would be outside Hawaii puka as a whole.
Yeah.
And so there's a little screw hole. He's gonna have to drill some screws in, but nothing too major.
nothing too major.
So you got to kind of line them up a little bit
Yeah. These
because there's no little
keys
post
are
hole.
different than the other keys. This will take me just a second to find the right tool for this job. Sure. Hey, all came out good. Came out nice and mellow and even. And great tuning machines. I love them.
All right, so you're free to go surf now.
Yay.
Okay, so here's how the headstock looks with the new tuners. I think they look pretty good. I'm glad I went with the antique gold and not a shinier gold. It's a nice look on a Taylor guitar. And here's the back. You can see that there's no real noticeable line in this clip, but if you kind of look closely, you can see a little bit of kind of like a tan line on the top of the tuner, but for the most part, it covers up the old spot pretty well. And of course, you note that there are the screws now, so we can't really switch back to the old one without a mark. Okay, so overall, I think I'm pretty happy with having installed these on the guitar, in particular because the tuning stability has improved, and I'm spending a little bit less time fooling with the tuning in between songs. So that helps out a lot. I would say that the stock tuners were pretty good. I bought this guitar used, and it seemed like there was a lot of wear on them when I got it. As I pointed out, like some of the gold plating was wearing off, and so I'm not sure how it was treated before, but in any event, if your tuners are working for you, I recommend just keeping them on your guitar. But if you're thinking about an upgrade because they're giving you a little bit of trouble, then I think these are probably worthwhile. So the tuning stability is better. The higher gear ratio, 21:1 versus 18:1, doesn't really make a difference. I mean, you might have to, like when you're putting a string on, turn it 11 times instead of 10. It's not like you have to crank it a whole lot. It doesn't make a difference for that, but it does make a difference when you're fine-tuning it. And I think just the generally heavier build of the tuner helps the strings stay in tune. So dialing in tuning accurately and tuning stability are improved with these tuners. Now, because they're heavier, it adds a little bit of weight to the headstock, which does a couple different things. It's sort of a mixed bag because I think you get more sustain and the notes are a little bit clearer, a little bit stronger fundamental, but there's also a bit of a compression effect. So the quieter notes are a little bit louder, and it seems like you lose a tad bit of headroom on the other end. Harmonics, for some reason, ring out really well, very clear. So it seems like for whatever reason the heavier tuners have given me much better harmonics, which I like because I use them a lot. And if you use harmonics to tune, you'll find that it's easier to dial them in because the harmonics are ringing more clearly and you have more precision with the tuner. So overall, I think it's a positive result putting them on. The downside is, of course, it costs a bit of money to do, and also it seems like you lose a little bit of dynamics. But again, the flip side is increased sustain and better harmonics. And overall, for what I do with fingerstyle guitar and doing a lot of alternate tunings, I think these tuners are a win-win. If I didn't really have a problem with my tuners on the guitar though, I would be fine having stock tuners. I don't feel like I have to have these on, you know, every guitar I have from now on, but on this guitar, they're good. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video about the Gotoh 510 tuners that I put on my guitar. As usual, results may vary, but if you're thinking about it, hopefully this will give you some food for thought. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. So anyway, these Gotoh 510 tuners are what Taylor uses on their ultra high-end guitars, the 900, the Presentation, and their custom guitars. And because you see them a lot on different Taylor guitars, a lot of people choose them to upgrade from the stock Taylor tuners. I think in part because they've been associated with Taylor guitars. As we'll see in a second, you don't really have to change the tuner hole with the drill, though you do have to add an extra screw hole to the back. So in terms of putting them on, there's not too much modification. For the most part, as we'll see, they cover up the imprint left by the old tuners. However, because you add an extra screw hole for each of the tuners on the back of the headstock, if you do want to switch back to original Taylor tuners, then there will be that mark there that wasn't there before.